Welcome to another episode of Mettle on Demand. Today I'm talking to Michelle Lucherini, who is originally from Chicago but has been living in Newcastle for the last 15 years with her two daughters and her two gorgeous Bengal cats. She is a plug-in operations specialist and she helps rapid growth businesses scale with sanity and focus, which sounds very helpful indeed, because I think we all have the same problem of having about 8 billion ideas and then maybe getting as far as writing them down, but not actually following up on them and putting them into action in any way. So welcome to the show, Michelle. And you definitely need to tell me a bit more about what a plug-in operations specialist does.
Yes, well, thanks for having me. So basically, it's all about getting the right things done in the right way and at the right time. So like you say, entrepreneurs by their very nature and, business owners are very creative. They have like loads of ideas. They're never sure which is the one they should put a priority on. They start playing with something, start implementing it, and then the next new shiny idea comes and like that one's half finished and there's no sort of reflection, what went well, what didn't, no measurement of results. So it's a bit of, in plain terms, team management, project management, and goals management.
So you seem like the outside discipline that comes in to kind of rein in the excitement and creativity and make it be focused towards like actually achieving something.
Yes, 100%. It's great when you're, heading up to a 6-figure business and then they're like, okay, how do we get to 7 figures now? And it's like, it's a totally different mindset when you're going from that, perhaps, more solopreneur, entrepreneurial, growing your team, having the processes and the systems in place, right? What are our revenue goals? What do we need to be tracking? How do we get there? And mapping out that journey and have somebody that's helping, support the team and all of those big projects that you need to do to get there. So that's it in a nutshell.
How did you end up doing this?
So I was actually a right-hand woman back in my corporate days before I set out to the CEO of a 25 million global turnover business. And I had 10 people reporting into me, so lots of team management. But basically, for want of a better term, I was a bit of a deputy. I had to attend meetings. I did all of our corporate objective setting, managed our sort of satellite offices that we had in Australia and America, making sure they were hitting their goals and targets and dealing with them. So basically I was like, why am I not doing this and taking what I've learned from like the big corporate methodology and mindset and helping small business owners who are looking to scale quickly do the same, basically, rather than a bit of fumbling around in the dark,
So that sounds like a job that would have had a fair amount of stability and decent pay attached to it and good conditions.
It did.
So that was quite a leap to decide to go on your own. What was like the impetus for doing that? What gave you the courage to do that?
So basically, I had a good salary. I was on fast track to becoming senior management. And at that point, I had my second daughter. I hadn't slept in 2 years because she had a milk allergy that I was fighting with the medical profession about. They said, no, it's just colic. She's fine. I'm like, trust me, I've done this rodeo before. This is not normal. I was so sleep deprived. I was sitting there running training for the global senior management team. And my boss even said, you did a great job. I have no idea how you've done it. And that's because behind the scenes, I was an absolute wreck. And I just thought, you know what? I can't do this anymore. This is not working for me. And I literally quit and set up my business that week.
Wow. And when you set the business up, what was like your idea of what success would look like? So when you think I've made it, this is exactly what I wanted to achieve. Did you have a picture of what that would be?
It was literally at that point, just replace my, replace my salary, or, obviously I was on quite a good salary, or at least get to a decent, a wage that I could, pay the bills and everything. And that was all I was hoping for at that point, and just an escape from the stress of.
And did you get there?
I did. Year three, I eventually did. And the best part is that I only work 25 to 30 hours a week. Whereas before I was working 40 plus on demand, you know, like phone calls in the middle of the night on the work mobile phone. And after the 3-year mark, we're in year 4.5 now. I've doubled it again. So I'm actually earning double what I was earning in my salaried position, still only working 25 to 30 hours a week.
How have you managed to like stay with that number of working hours? Because I find that I get like, if I get into something and I just want to get on and do it, I can put my head down and just work and work and work for hours and then look up and realize that I've given it way more time and attention than I intended to. How do you stay so strict with that timekeeping?
Because unlike you, and I think you're so brave and amazing for doing homeschooling, but mine go to school. So I literally have 9 till 3 every day. And my day is like, unsurprisingly, considering what I help entrepreneurs and small business owners do, it is uber structured. I have all of my client work and then work I need to do on my business scheduled as much as possible. Obviously, we know that can't always be the case, but it's like I know 9 till 3, I go like crazy. And I know I have to stick into that time.
When we were in lockdown and your children went in school, which I can imagine was a big challenge, it was interesting for me watching everyone go into this level of shock. And I was like, oh, welcome to my life. This is what it looks like. Did you find you were able to stick to the timekeeping because you now didn't have that barrier of like, I've got to be at the door at a certain time, then I come home and then I've got to be back out for the school run? Did it start to drift?
No, it was really, really hard. Because obviously I was having to support with the homeschooling and everything. So it kind of went out the window. Luckily, I work with businesses that are lovely and understanding and brilliant. I tend to put more pressure on myself than they do, to be fair. But it ended up being mornings homeschooling, like 9 till 11. And then, right, here's stuff that you can go off and do on your own. And then I worked 11 till dinner time, tea time. And if I had to, nights and weekends to catch up on stuff, really. And then it just got to the point where we did the homeschooling and here's your iPad or the TV.
Video games are my best friend too.
Yeah, none of this structured stuff, whatever we can do to stay sane so that I can keep my business going and you're still alive, you know?
And now they're back in school. You found it okay just to pick up with the old routine?
Yeah, it was hard. The first 2 weeks were quite difficult. Plus they go to 2 different schools. So I'm pretty much on the school run for an hour and a half every day, sometimes 2.
Wow.
So it takes up a big chunk of time, but like I say, I know between that 9 to 3, just be really as diligent as possible.
It sounds like you've got it, like you've nailed it. Like from what you had in mind to what you've managed to achieve, that sounds like a fairly straightforward, straight line journey. Like you just went from there to there. But I'm guessing is that the case? It was that simple?
No, I mean, I started off, I was a VA charging by the hour. And then it was like, a lot of my clients were like, why aren't you using your marketing degree? We want you to help us with our marketing strategy. And I ended up doing marketing strategy stuff. And I found it's just a really crowded market. You know, there's a lot of freelance or, you know, marketing specialists out there. And it was actually one of my current clients that went, why, Michelle, you're so good at all this other stuff. Why aren't you not doing that? We know loads of fast growing businesses that could use that skill set. We think you need to pivot. So I've pivoted 3 times to get here.
So that was from a VA to marketing
and then operations. Yeah.
That's 2 pivots.
Oh,
3 jobs, 2 pivots.
Oh, yeah, sorry. 3 jobs, 2 pivots. All right, you know,
I think I've missed part of the story.
I promise I am good with numbers.
You're not an accountant. It's okay.
No.
What have you had to give up to be able to go from having that stability of apart from the stability, obviously, but having that stability of a corporate job going through all those pivots to getting to this point, because you make it like, it sounds so idyllic, like the kids go to school, you bang out work for the 6 hours, you get paid all this money, and it's all so organized, and it sounds so calm and simple and straightforward.
No, that's because that's what I let on, that it's calm. I would say it's like a roller coaster. I think that's what everybody says about, you know, running your own business and being an entrepreneur. You know, this week's a great week, for example. I've got client work under control. I finished off some one-off projects and I'm getting through my stuff no problem. And I feel really great. I'm getting caught up on ironing, like all the home stuff that I got to do. If we would have had this interview last week, my hair I would have been pulling it out going, oh my God. And so what I've given up is, yes, the stability. So, you know, it is the roller coaster. I've only gotten to the point now where it's regular income because of the way I've structured my business. You know, when I was doing the VA, 1 month was a good month revenue wise, the next month wasn't. So I guess what I've given up is that, I think that stability and security, that kind of peace of mind. You go to work, you do what you have to do, but when it's you, I don't know, I put a lot of pressure on myself to do well. And that probably comes from my own sort of perfectionist tendencies, but also, you know, everyone's out on social media going, look, you can make millions and I'm going to show you how, and this is what you need to do to run your business. So sometimes it's like, yeah, wouldn't it be great just to go back to work and kind of be told what to do rather than have to do it all yourself?
So even though you're making the money that you need to make, well, more than you originally set for your goal, do you still get that kind of worry that you're not doing enough? Like there's unfulfilled potential, you should be going further?
All the time. Like in my mind, I'm like, okay, how can I scale this more? Because in my current model, you know, I can probably have a max of, you know, 3 clients because it's very, it's draining, you know, you're really involved in their business. And okay, so now how can I grow? Do I want to grow? You know, the kids get older. I could work more than 25 hours if I want. Do I want to? And it's that constant battle of, is what I'm doing now enough? And should I just be happy? Or that inherent thing of, well, what's next? What am I going to do now? How am I going to shape the business for the future? So yeah, never just great.
Do you have anything, like, because I'm curious, I feel that way, like exactly like that. So I swing between going, I've now, this is exactly what I wanted. You know, I wanted the kids, actually originally I just wanted to work around school hours so that I would be here when they came home. Yeah. And then when school wasn't working out for them for various reasons, this looked like the best thing for us. And now I'm so happy, like this is what I want. And we have enough money and it's really like comfortable and everything fits into the hours available. And then just like you, like I'll be 11 o'clock at night. If I'm tired and I go on social media, those are the 2 like triggers, and I'll be looking going, I could do more. I need to, like, what could I do right now to make a difference? How can I start growing my business? Then I have to think, no, it's like bedtime. What you can do right now is get a good night's sleep. Do you have any like measures in place so that you can look and like almost like touchstones where you can go, that is the goal I set myself for this year, I've done it, or that was the goal I set myself for this month, I'm on track, it's okay, I'm doing enough, so you can like give yourself a break?
Yeah, 100%. So everything that I teach those entrepreneurs to do of, right, okay, let's set out our goals. What do we want to achieve this year, and measuring them. 100% I do. So I know I'm doing well. I think it's just more the inherent thing of, well, what about more? I could be doing other things. I could create some kind of a coaching program, for example, to help, you know, smaller businesses that don't need that big retainer plug-in ops specialist role. And I don't know how you switch that off, even though I see on paper that things are more than fine.
Yeah.
You're always constantly wanting to do something more.
I get that. It's like there's a list of the things that I could do. I feel a sense of obligation almost, like I could do that. I could help those people, so I should. Yeah. And that's kind of remind myself, like, someone else will come up with this product. It's fine. Like, if I don't fill this gap in the market, someone else will do it eventually. I can say no and let someone else do that. But I think that's part of the way that our brains are wired, that we see those opportunities and it's almost painful to pass them up but we have to, because we couldn't pursue every single one, otherwise we'd never get anything done, I suppose, unless we had someone like you in our team to help us make sure that we followed through. Do you find the people that you work with they have the same problem, because they're that much further along and they've got fairly sizable businesses, so they've obviously taken advantage of some of those opportunities? Do they still have that kind of constant pressure or conflict with opportunities?
All the time. So great, they're a 6-figure business, but now they want to get to 7 figures. And how do we get there? They're always coming up with new ideas, but that's why they need me. It's kind of like, look, this is what we set up. It's how you're going to go from 6 to 7 figures. Let's focus on that. We know it's achievable. We know how we can get there with these changes. Let's do that. But I know once we get to 7 figures, it'll be right. Okay, well, what's the next leap from here? Definitely. They don't change. It's just, what's the next evolution? What's the next growth phase, really?
It sounds like you manage that so they look at what the next things they want to achieve. You agree a plan, like there's actions, there's a plan, there's a time frame for taking that. And then between then and the future date when this is going to be achieved, any new ideas that come up just get like, nope, they're parked. We've agreed what we're going to do.
They'll come and talk to me about it, and I'm a bit of a filter, because some of it might just be a tweak to what we're already doing, which makes good sense. It's a better way to do things. Or it might be something totally far out there that doesn't fit in with our plan. And I'm a bit like, actually, I'm not sure that's the right thing to do. So 100%, it's about keeping them focused, because I know that if we do that plan, we will reach that goal. Why are we going to do this, which will take us twice the time to get there?
That must take so much courage to rein them back in there, because I know so if I get a great idea comes in, it feels almost a bit like it's divine inspiration, like I'm in my most flow when this idea has come, so it must be for real. I must need to follow through with this. So you're taking someone who's in that kind of really happy, inspired, ecstatic space and saying, no, we're not going to do that.
And it's hard. I certainly think it takes a certain personality trait to be able to do that. And I think, or at least the feedback I've received, is that I'm friendly about it, but firm, and they like the fact that there's somebody holding them accountable. They actually like the fact that I'm cracking the whip a little bit. But I would say it does take, that embedding in period when I come on board for them to trust me. That's a big thing. But once I have their trust, because I've demonstrated some, key achievements over the first 3 months, they do. I haven't had one that hasn't listened to me yet. I'm sure it'll happen. At the end of the day, it's their business, but thus far they've been receptive. So I
guess when it happens, you have to just let them follow through with the idea and see what happens.
Exactly. And as on the one hand, you hope they fail so I can go, I told you so. But on the other hand, I would still help them to try to make it work and see how we fit it into the current plan. At the end of the day, it's their business, and they ultimately, know what they want.
Because you're in that situation where your clients are, I'm not saying they're all further ahead, but I'm guessing that most of them are like further ahead. I guess that is amplifying that problem of, am I doing enough? Because you're right there. I can work with a client. If I get a client who's, a biggish name or someone that's exciting to work with, is that initial like, yay, this is great, I'm going to get to do this. And then by 7:00 in the evening, I'll be crying into a glass of wine going, why haven't I achieved this in my business yet? It's so unfair.
And as well, because they're ideas people, one client in particular, they often come to me with like, Michelle, I thought about doing this. And I'm like, no, stop distracting me. But unfortunately, they have really good ideas. So sometimes I'm like, yeah, actually, I probably should do that. I need to figure out if that's going to work or not. So it is hard. It's a bit of the, wow, I see what they have. But I also see the struggles that they have. When your business gets bigger, your team gets bigger, that's a whole load of a lovely headache, when you've got a big team to manage. So there's a bit of both, it's like, yes, I want that, but do I want that added pressure and stress? I don't know.
And
I think it goes back to that. question.
How old are your daughters?
6 and 11.
So it's like
Little
a
still.
finite period of time that you've got them like this, sort of still quite small, wanting to
Yeah,
be out of their bedrooms and spend time with you. Like a snapshot in about 5 years' time, you won't even know that they exist because they'll just be behind a closed bedroom door.
exactly. And that's what I've always said. Look, for now, I'm in a great place. Let's keep doing this 25 to 30, keep reining myself back in and keep to those hours, because I want to do those fun things. I want to be the person that takes them. I want to be there if they have a sick day and need somebody to help them for half term, summer holidays. But in the back of my mind, as they get older and don't need me as much, maybe it's a chance to do some of these things that I know could grow the business even more, because I'll be kind of going around going, now what am I supposed to do with my extra time? Wouldn't that be great? Oh, I could actually have me time. That would be a novelty.
Might you not just sit down and have a cup of tea and read a book?
Yeah, exactly. Like I could do that. But will that get boring? I don't know.
I'm going to take a slightly darker turn because you've made it sound so lovely and it still sounded like relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
Were there any times when you thought like, this is not worth it, I'm going to go back to getting a job?
100%. I was going through some things in my personal life that meant finances and stability were really, really scary. And that was when my business wasn't supporting my wage. And I'm honest, I had to go to the local job center and I had to receive benefits to top up what I was earning from my business in order to pay the bills. And at that point, it was like, right, maybe this isn't the right thing to do. I bet if I knocked on my old employer's door, I could go have that job back and I wouldn't have to do this.
What were they like at the job centre? Were they sort of happy that they're supporting you towards growing a business, or were they get back to work?
No, they were really, I had to show like all my accounts and everything to show that I actually had a business that was viable, that was, making money regularly. I wasn't trying to cheat the system, but I proved that through my accounts, and they could see I had grown from the first year to the second year. And so it was no problem. And then I got to the income threshold where my business was making money, and they went, see it. And actually on that day when I wasn't getting my benefit support anymore, I was like, yes, I'm doing it myself now. But before then it was pretty scary.
So the person who left that job and then went through all of that, if they looked at where you are now, would she feel like you'd made a success of it?
Oh, I think so. Definitely. I don't think, I was thinking about this before our interview, sort of like our generation. I think we're a similar age. I don't know. We went to uni or we went to school, and it was kind of like my dream was to be a high-powered businesswoman in a skirt suit or a pantsuit, living in a big city somewhere all alone, and all this stuff. And so that's what you felt like you had to do. And it wasn't until I did this that I realized there was another way to have a really great life rather than living to work all the time. And so I think if I was there today, she would definitely think it was a success, because she didn't even think that was possible then. She didn't realize that was an option.
It's kind of like being semi-retired in a lot of ways, isn't it? Like we work a bit, but our life is so much more than what our work is.
That's 100% in. It's that whole live to work, work to live thing. I work to live. I love my business, luckily, but my life is not my work. My life is my children. And so that's just a vehicle to make the lives for me and my children brilliant, really. And it's lucky that I like it.
How well do the people in your life understand what you do?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think my parents still live in Chicago, so I don't have any immediate family here. And so they only go by what I tell them. But like, they can't really believe that I'm doing it. And I think it's hard because they don't see it every day. So I definitely think they're really, pleased for me. But I have had people say, why don't you go get a real job?
Do you think it's changed, like where people have now been working from home? I feel like there's been a shift, not just that working from home is possible when you're employed, but kind of just more acceptance that just because you're at home doesn't mean that you're sitting watching Netflix all day. Like, you can be inside your own house and still being productive. So I'm hopeful that we're heading in the right direction around kind of attitudes towards people that work for themselves.
Me too, because I did a lot of like work and research with one of my initial clients when I went self-employed about how flexible working patterns and home working is so beneficial, not only for the employees' mental health and well-being, but also for productivity for the business. So I really hope that businesses realize that this is the way forward for everyone, really.
It feels like our children are going to grow up with just a completely different set of expectations, because like you said, we were like, you go to school and you do as well as you can, and then you go to university and you do as well as you can, and then you get a job and you turn up there 5 days a week and you do that as well as you can, and all you've got is like your weekends and then that little bit of time after you've had your dinner before you go to sleep ready for the next day.
Yeah, definitely. And I love it, because the other day my 11-year-old, she's like, Mom, I'm starting a business. And I'm like, what? She goes, yes, I've gone on Amazon, I've sourced all the materials. We are going to make vegan, cruelty-free lip gloss, and we've done a business plan.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
She's 11, and at that point I was like, yes, I've started to rub off on her, so maybe she won't even go the whole corporate route. She'll just jump straight into being an entrepreneur. And I don't know if I think it's a combination of obviously her seeing me, but also society, as you say, making it more of a normal, viable, option for people that I don't feel like it was discussed back when I was in school.
I mean, we had like careers options were librarian, fireman. I wasn't a man, so that wasn't going to happen. Teacher, doctor, like it was fairly limited, wasn't it? Because you only can aspire to what you see, and our children get to be around us. And I find, because I work with lots of other businesses, and then I'll tell them a little bit about the people that I'm working with, especially if it's something that's really, like off the wall. I think when I went to the Retain conference last year, and there was someone there who ran a membership for extreme frisbee, and I never shut up about that. I was like, but boys, this person makes their living by recording videos of frisbee tricks. Like, that is what they do, and they make loads of money doing it. So I'm trying to drip feed them that information as much as possible, so that they can see, like, it doesn't matter how ridiculous it sounds or how out there, someone is making money from that business model.
Definitely 100%. I just think it's great that they have those opportunities that we didn't feel like were available to us. It makes me really excited and hopeful that they'll be able to, not be chained to a desk all the time.
Are you going to be able to keep your hands off their business?
Oh God, that's a good question. No. No way. I probably won't be able to help myself. I mean, already I'm like, right, okay, so who's the business plan for? And she's like, well, for you, because I want an Instagram account to market the business, and this is my marketing plan and all this. And I'm like, yeah, but what about we tweak that slightly? And have you thought about how much profit you're going to make from each lip gloss? So this is how you would calculate your profit. And I don't know, I just can't help myself, which is probably not the right thing. I'm sure it's great on one hand, a little bit of coaching, but on the other hand, it's probably better that she gets thrown in the deep end a little bit to figure it out herself. I don't know.
It's the same kind of balance with your clients. Like, there's only so much you can tell them and so much you need them to figure out for themselves or experience for themselves.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. I'll just treat her like the client.
That's what I'm saying. Like, just same kind of diva quality as your clients. Just get that balance right between pumping up their enthusiasm and their eagerness, but also reining it in, so she doesn't spend like all of her Christmas money on the raw materials for lip gloss that nobody buys.
That was literally the thing. I said, and where are you going to get the money to buy the ingredients that you need? She's like, Christmas money. I was like, oh God.
That's serious though. She's really thought this through. I love it.
Yeah, she has.
Okay, so parking children's entrepreneurial ideas aside, back to the adults running businesses. When would we be ready to bring in someone like you to move a business on to the next level?
Yeah. I've definitely found the sweet spot is when you, and the easiest way to say it is when you've hit that 6-figure mark and you do have multiple members of on your team. Generally speaking, they're outsourced with the type of people I work with. And that's when you start to find the strain, because now you have, say, 5, outsourced members of staff, and you become the bottleneck for stuff getting done. And you're so busy putting out fires and dealing with the day-to-day running of the business that you're not thinking, you don't have the headspace to think strategically to get you to the next stage. So I found that like the real, great kind of point of when you realize you need some help.
It's like every bit of energy you've got is going into maintaining where you are right now. There's nothing left to take it to the next level.
Yeah. And you're kind of thinking, right, okay, and if I do want to grow on the business, take on more clients, what systems and processes do I have in place to make that happen? Do I have is my CRM, do I even have a CRM? Do I have those standard operating procedures as I grow the team so that everybody knows what they need to do? That's the point when you realize actually you've hit that point where you're going to struggle to grow, or you will grow, but it might be a bit of a stressful, messy one.
When you first come in, is there like a step one that you have to do with like all clients? Does it tend to be the same beginning phase for them?
Yeah, so the beginning phase is that introductory. It tends to be quite a long session, like where are you now? Where do you want to be? They have to give me access to all their financial information once they're, confident that, with that level of trust, because then I need to do basically that forecasting phase of, right, okay, based on this business model. So they have to explain everything, like how that works, what that revenue relates to. Is it a membership model? Is it an agency model? How is that broken down? So that then I can model that out to see, okay, what is the goal you want to achieve? How could we get there? Is it realistic? Is it not? And then from there, it's really like, okay, now do we have the right members in the team to get there? Not looking at the people you have in the team, but the roles that you need to have to get you there. Not necessarily trying to fit your current team in those holes. So that's a lot of the initial work. And then in order to get there, what do we have to do? Right, we have to do this, this, and this. And there's a bit of an objective setting where we map out those sort of 3 to 4 key objectives. And then that's when the more nitty-gritty project planning comes in, right? Who's going to do what and by when, so that we hit those objectives.
Sounds like that first stage is like almost a reality check. Like, you think you've got it working in a particular way and you feel comfortable with, profit that you're making or how it's working out, and you're going to come in, shoot them down a bit, give them a hard reality check of what it's really like.
What I found is it's not that what they want, it's not more so a reality check, because they know how much they're earning and where it's coming from. It's more, I want to get to X million. And it's like they have these big visions, but they haven't planned out what actually needs to happen to get there, to make sure that they hit that. It's just that hope and dream and wish, their desire to get there. So they know what they want. They know what their business is operating at, but there's been no forward planning of actually, let's break that down of how you're going to get there and is it achievable. And then and it is. So far, I've not met anyone where their goal isn't achievable. It's just they've not actually sat down and gone, this is how we're going to get here, and stayed focused on that.
It makes me wonder if that affects your ability to think of do the dreaming of this is where I want to get to, because for most of us, we can just set that lofty goal and then think, I'll figure out how to do it later. But by then we've kind of become emotionally attached to that vision, whereas you're acutely aware of what's going to go into achieving it. So it's harder to get into the spirit of it and really cling on to the dream.
Yeah. So for me, where I struggle is I look at things really objectively, and it's like, okay, well, if I charge this kind of level of retainer, then I could have that. And then after taxes, I'd have that. I'm not the big creative ideas person that goes, okay, Michelle, this is the way you can, this big, you know, like this is how you could structure your coaching program in order to get there. I don't look at that. I'm more like, what's the facts and figures to get me there, rather than that big idea that's going to help me reach it.
So what do you have in mind for what's next for you?
Yeah, so going back to, there's another market I can serve. Like I say, you know, the sweet spot is that 6-figure moving to 7 figures. But what I've realized is there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are, you know, before they hit 6 figures, they still have the same issues as those bigger businesses. It's less about team management though, and more about the goal setting and accountability. So I'm playing with, do I do some type of accountability coaching where there's no implementation team and project management. It's more, right, this is where you want to go, this is how we're going to get there, and holding them accountable and helping them keep on track to get there.
Sounds amazing, because it's like what we talked about in the beginning, where you can't stop all those ideas, and then that constant feeling of I'm not doing enough, to be able to have someone to check in. You know, imagine, like, obviously you don't want it to be a late night messaging service, but basically if you could check in with someone and say, I'm worried I'm not doing enough, should I be doing X, Y, and Z? And that person can just go, this is the plan, you're achieving everything that's on the plan, everything's on track, you can come back to this idea at X, like this date in the future. That doesn't sound like massively onerous on your part, but hugely valuable to the business owners to try and keep them kind of grounded and on track with the plan that they originally set.
Yeah, that's 100% the plan. It's, you know, lighter touch, much less intensive for me, so that I can keep my focus on those 3 bigger retainer clients, but it's still giving what that entrepreneur needs, and at a price point that suits, you know, what their revenue goals are and what they're currently, you know, turning over. So
yeah, and it sounds
that's what I'm thinking of.
I found, like, with business coaching tends to be about like going towards a, you know, a lofty goal, trying to get you up to this next level. And that doesn't, you know, not all of us are wanting to do that. Some of us are just going, I'm really like, for the next 5 years, this is what my personal life looks like. My business fits with that. Let's just stay where we are. But we'd still like that kind of check-in to say, am I doing all the things to stay on track? Or, you know, to grow, you want to grow a bit so that your costs don't swallow you up or you get eaten by inflation. But, you know, there's a difference between that and that kind of coaching role where you're trying to elevate someone up to a completely different level.
And it is different, you know, and those entrepreneurs at that level are, you know, they maybe have already started to outsource or on the cusp of outsourcing. You know, I can help them go, right, okay, well, if you do outsource, this is, you know, how that's going to affect the figures. You know, this is maybe what we would have to do to maybe increase your prices to absorb that. So I can be that more, you know, analytical point of view to go, right, that's achievable. Now's the point where you should go outsource to give you more of that, you know, work-life balance and that freedom that is part of your goals and your plans. So it all fits into that, really.
Does sound good. So if you're watching this and that sounds like something you need to leave a comment on the video, so Michelle starts to feel the pressure that she needs to get on with it and create this offer for all of us that really need it.
And then I need me to, like, my little head on my shoulder going, right, now does that fit in with your goals and plans? Now let's make sure we have a project plan for how we deliver that.
It starts to get a bit kind of meta, doesn't it? Or like, you know, when you look in a mirror.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'm sure that people listening to this are going to be really interested in that particular offer, but also in just finding out more about what you do. So where is the best place for them to find you? Your Instagram account. You're doing good things on your Instagram account. I love the kind of the trees and the natural vibe there.
Yeah, definitely connect with me on Instagram. That's the main platform where I'm at. Connect with me there, send me a DM, and I'd be happy to have a chat. I can send you a link. I've got free 30-minute calls where we can kind of chat, and I can help you sort, you know, some.
I love the idea of people booking these calls just to say, you should do that coaching program you were talking about.
No, please no, then I would really feel pressure.
Thank you so much for your time, Michelle. That has been fantastic. And thank you very much for watching another episode of Mettle on Demand. Bye.